When Valerie and I ended things, it wasn't a shouting match or some dramatic confrontation. It was worse. Quiet. Cold. As if something between us had already withered away. But what came after was even harder. It all started when I discovered she hadn't been honest about where she was spending some weekends. I asked her directly, "Where were you last Saturday, Valerie?" "You told me you were with your sister." Her eyes shifted away briefly before she responded, "I was." "Why are you asking like that?" "Because I called her," I said, trying to stay calm, "and she told me she hasn't seen you in weeks." Her face froze, her eyes widening with panic. "Oh, I meant I was with her friend Donna. I must have gotten confused." That was the first warning sign. But I wanted to trust her. We had been together for 5 years, engaged for 2, and were preparing for our wedding. The dates were set, invitations printed, and plans well underway. You don't throw all that away over one mistake. Yet, over the following weeks, she became distant, harder to reach. When I tried to talk to her about it, she snapped. "You're suffocating me, Bradley," she shouted one evening. "You're always asking where I am and what I'm doing. Do you think I'm a child?" "No, Valerie," I replied, struggling to stay composed. "I think you're my fiancé, and I just want to understand why you're acting like this." Instead of answering, she grabbed a bag and walked out, saying she needed space. At first, I waited, hoping she'd come back. But days turned into weeks, and I heard nothing, no calls, no texts. It was as if I no longer existed to her. And honestly, by that point, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just hurt. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, so I did what I had to do. I called off the wedding. I contacted the venue, the caterer, the florist, and everyone else involved. Then I informed our families and friends that it was over. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. It felt like I wasn't just canceling an engagement. I was tearing apart the future we had planned together. But deep down, I knew it was the right decision. One evening, as I was flipping through TV channels on my couch, my phone rang. It was Valerie's brother, Luke. "Hey, Bradley," he started, his tone hesitant. "How have you been?" "Let me guess," I said, leaning back on the couch. "Valerie asked you to talk to me, didn't she?" There was a pause before he admitted, "Well, yeah, sort of. She's been really upset about everything and feels like maybe things got out of hand. She wants to fix this." "Fix this?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "She ignored me for weeks, Luke. She left me sitting here like an idiot, wondering what I did wrong. How exactly does she plan to fix that?" "She knows she messed up," he said, trying to sound convincing. "She wants to meet and talk things through." "No, Luke," I said firmly. "If she wanted to talk, she could have picked up her phone instead of sending you as her messenger. I'm not interested." Luke sighed. "Come on, Bradley. You two were great together. Don't just throw this away." "She already did," I snapped. "And I'm done picking up the pieces." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could tell Luke was carefully choosing his next words. He wasn't the confrontational type, but I knew he cared about his sister. Still, I wasn't going to let him guilt me into reopening old wounds. "Look, Bradley," Luke said softly, "I know you're hurt, but Valerie's been a wreck. She doesn't know how to fix this, but she wants to try." "She had plenty of chances, Luke," I said. "I called her, texted her, tried to reach out after she left, but she didn't answer. She ignored me, lied to me. I'm not some backup option she can turn to when things don't go her way." Luke was quiet for a moment before finally saying, "I get it. But please, at least hear her out. You both deserve some closure." "Closure?" I shot back. "I don't need closure, Luke. I need honesty. I need her to stop treating me like I'm nothing. I'm done." I ended the call before he could respond. I couldn't believe Valerie thought I'd just go back to the way things were. The audacity of it all. And yet, that wasn't the end. No, that would have been too simple. The next day, Valerie's mother called. She told me how hard things had been for Valerie and how sorry she was about everything. But I had done enough. Valerie had lied, ignored me, and pushed me away for weeks. I couldn't trust her again. Her mother insisted that Valerie had changed, but I didn't want to be part of her process. I was done. The phone call ended, leaving me alone, staring at the walls once more. But this time, I wasn't just sad. I was furious. Furious at Valerie for dragging me through so much emotional chaos, and angry at her family for trying to guilt me into going back to a toxic situation. The more I thought about it, the more certain I became. I couldn't go back. I couldn't repair something so broken. It was time to let go completely. A few weeks later, just as I was beginning to feel like I could move on, I received a letter in the mail. The envelope had Valerie's handwriting on it. I stared at it for a while, debating whether to open it or toss it in the trash. Curiosity won out. Inside was a long, handwritten note. It was typical Valerie, overly emotional and full of dramatic pleas. She apologized for disappearing and said she missed me, but midway through, the tone changed. She wrote, "I've been thinking about how we can fix this, Bradley. I still have the key to your apartment, and I've been considering stopping by so we can talk face to face. I've even looked into a counselor for us. I know we can make this work if we just try." I froze, suddenly remembering that Valerie still had a key. I had changed the locks after she left, but the mere idea of her assuming she could just stroll back into my home made my skin crawl. The following day, I sent her a brief response. "Valerie, I've moved on, and you need to do the same. Please don't contact me again." I thought that would put an end to it. I was wrong. A few days later, the last thing I expected was for Valerie's sister, Monica, to show up at my apartment unannounced. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard a knock on the door. When I opened it, there she was, her expression tense, like she was carrying a heavy burden. Frustration flared inside me immediately. Is this her plan? I thought. Valerie must have sent her, hoping I'd forgive everything and let her back into my life. "Monica," I said, keeping my tone as calm as possible. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you, Bradley," she said, her voice soft but insistent. "It's important." "Can I come in?" I shook my head, already annoyed. "No, Monica, I'm done. Tell your sister that." She hesitated for a moment before adding, "She doesn't know I'm here, Bradley." I came on my own to talk about Valerie. There's something you need to know. Something that might help you understand and forgive her. That stopped me cold. My heart skipped a beat, and my mind went on high alert. What could she possibly say that would make any of this better? "I don't want to hear anything about Valerie," I said firmly, trying to shut it down. "She left me. She disappeared without a word. There's nothing else to discuss." But Monica didn't back down. She stepped forward slightly and lowered her voice. "So you don't want to know where she was all those weeks she was gone?" I froze. That single sentence hit me like a gut punch. Where was she? I had spent so much time agonizing over what had happened, trying to piece together why she had suddenly cut me out of her life. I had my suspicions, but hearing Monica bring it up made my stomach churn. For a moment, I stood there in silence, my mind racing. Do I even want to hear this? Do I still care? But some twisted sense of curiosity made me hesitate. "Come in," I said finally, my voice colder than I intended. "What happened?" Monica took a deep breath, guilt and determination etched into her features. "She was with someone else," she began. "She went on a trip with him. He's someone she met at her gym a few months ago. She wanted to see if her feelings for him were real." It felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My head buzzed with disbelief. She, she went away with someone else? Anger started to bubble up, hot and uncontrollable. Monica continued speaking, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. But after some time, she realized she only wanted you. It was always you, Bradley. She was confused, but now she knows what she wants. She's asking for your forgiveness and hoping you'll take her back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My heart pounded in my chest as anger and betrayal surged through me. She had been with another man, gone on a trip with him, and now she expected me to forgive her? The audacity of it all made my blood boil. I stepped back, my chest tightening. "So let me get this straight," I said, my voice icy. "She cheats on me, goes on a trip with some guy, and now she wants me to just take her back? Are you serious, Monica?" Monica flinched but held her ground. "She's sorry, Bradley," she said quietly. "She knows she made a mistake." "I don't want to hear it anymore," I snapped. "This is beyond repair. No apology can fix this." "Please, Bradley," she pleaded. "She's trying." "Just go," I said, my voice sharp but controlled. "You can't fix this. It's over." Monica looked like she wanted to argue, but the look in my eyes must have told her it was pointless. Without another word, she turned and left. I slammed the door behind her, my hands trembling with rage. I stood there for a long time, trying to steady my breathing, but the anger wouldn't fade. It burned hotter, fueled by the weight of her betrayal. A week later, my phone rang. It was my mom. "Bradley," she said, her tone serious. "Valerie came to my house." "What?" I nearly dropped the phone. "She was crying," my mom continued, "saying she just wants to talk to you. She was asking me to convince you to give her another chance." "What did you tell her?" I asked, my heart racing. "I told her you're an adult and have made your decision," my mom said. "But Bradley, she seemed so desperate. Are you sure this is the right thing to do?" "Yes, Mom, I'm sure," I replied through gritted teeth. "She's crossed too many boundaries. Showing up at your house? That's not okay." My mom sighed. "I agree, but you might want to take this more seriously. It doesn't seem like she's letting go." Things only escalated from there. A few days later, I came home to find a note taped to my door. It read, "Bradley, I know you're upset, but please just talk to me. I can't let this end like this. I love you." That was my breaking point. I wasn't just annoyed anymore. I was scared. Her behavior no longer felt like love. It felt like obsession. I called my best friend Jonathan and asked him to meet me. We ended up at our usual bar, drinks in hand, as I told him everything. Her mother's call, her sister's visit, and the way she wouldn't let me move on. Jonathan listened quietly, nodding as I spoke. "Dude," he said finally, "you need to do something. She's not going to stop unless you make it crystal clear this isn't okay." "What do you think I should do?" I asked, taking a deep breath. "Honestly? File a restraining order," he said bluntly. "It's not ideal, but you need to protect yourself." I nodded, his words sinking in. As much as I hated the idea, it felt like the only option. That night, when I got home, I was already exhausted from the day. But as I stepped out of my car and approached my building, I froze. There she was, Valerie, waiting for me outside. She walked toward me, her eyes full of desperation. My frustration boiled over. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "We need to talk, Bradley," she said, her voice trembling. "I love you, and I can't let you go." "I can't believe this," I shot back. "You're involving your entire family to try and manipulate me into taking you back. Really?" She stepped closer, tears streaming down her face. "Bradley, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do. Please, can't you see that I love you? I'll do anything." I shook my head, anger rising. "You disappeared for weeks, Valerie. You cheated on me. I know everything. You even went to my mom's house to beg her to change my mind. You don't get to do that. I've already made my decision. Her face crumpled. Please, don't do this. I can't live without you. Then live with the consequences of your actions, I said, my voice cold. You're out of control, Valerie. I'll file for a restraining order if I have to. This is no longer healthy. Leaving her standing there, I walked to my apartment. And that's exactly what I did. As much as I hated it, I filed for a restraining order the next day. When Valerie was served the paperwork, I braced myself for more drama. But instead, everything went quiet. No more letters, no more visits. Just silence. It took me time to process everything. I wasn't just dealing with the end of an engagement. I was grappling with the fallout of someone I thought I knew completely unraveling. But in the quiet that followed, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. One night, as Jonathan and I sat on my couch drinking beers, he looked over at me. "You seem different, man," he said. "Lighter." "Yeah," I said, nodding. "I guess I realized I don't have to carry this anymore. Valerie made her choices, and I made mine. I'm finally free to move on." And I did. Slowly but surely, I rebuilt my life. I learned to set boundaries, to stand up for myself, and to protect my peace above all else. Looking back, I don't regret how it ended. If anything, it taught me what I truly deserve: a life free from manipulation and drama.